Great, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We may have a few folks wandering in, but I'm so excited that we have this awesome panel here tonight. And before, actually right after, I want to get a photo of all of you. Okay. So maybe I'll just, if you guys don't mind waiting for 1 second, I'm going to get those photo opportunities so we can just talk about what a fabulous panel it was, and then I'll do some formal introductions. So give me 1 second. All right, you guys, we do like our little Facebook photo.
Perfect.
Slide here. All right. Great, set, go. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Okay. So great. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Amy Weinstein. I work here in the Amica Center for Career Education. I think I see a lot of familiar faces, so we probably emailed back and forth a lot of times. I am so excited. So I started with this great brainstorm and didn't anticipate having such a really terrific panel for you guys, and people just kept saying yes, and so I'm thrilled. Can you guys scan in if you haven't already? Yeah, just scan your ID. Yeah, thanks. And so I'm going to let them mostly introduce themselves, but and you guys can read who everybody is. But I just want to thank everybody on the panel so much. We have people coming that are here from New Jersey, from Bristol, Connecticut, far away, places that are far to drive and come and give their time to you guys tonight. So before we get started, just a round of applause for these guys. And without further ado, I'm just going to go down the line and have each panelist introduce themselves and just talk a little bit about what you do, a typical day, if there's such a thing, in your job, in your current position. Great. Can you start, Mark?
Hi everyone. My name is Mark Dondero. I'm a sports anchor and reporter for WPRI TV. That's a TV station, a CBS and Fox TV station right here in Providence, Rhode Island. I graduated from Bryant in 2008. Should I tell them about my daily stuff now? Or
yeah. Take a few minutes and just tell them about, I don't know, brief synopsis of what you do in your job, current job. Yeah.
I'm on TV. You have to, it depends. Yeah, you're important. Yeah, it depends on if I'm anchoring or reporting. So I guess my daily activities change. On days you report, which is 3 days a week for me, I anchor 2. You'll go out, and depending on what story you're going to cover, that dictates your schedule. So, like for example, the Patriots, when they have media availability, that's usually early in the morning. 9 a.m. is when Belichick talks. So those days, it's more 9 to 6 after the first news ends. And then when I anchor, it's 3 to 11 because the shows are 6, 5, 6, 10, and 11. So you're there later. So when you're anchoring, you're kind of producing the newscast. You type up all your scripts. You anchor the shows. You do it again at 10, 11. Whatever new stuff happens. If the Bruins played, they play later, then you got to put that in the late show. So you're producing and editing. You're either shooting a game in between all that. So there's always something going on. There's always new stuff going on, and you work with a bunch of people at the station, and it's fun and it's nice, and it's a good profession. So.
You get to be actually good.
Yeah. So we wear makeup, which is awful, but they make you. So.
You guys ever cover the Plaza?
Yeah, we know Mike Tamboro. Yeah, we're going to be live for opening day at the Pawtucket Red Sox, which is what, next
week from tomorrow.
Week from tomorrow. So we cover the Paw Sox. It's a great team to cover. So we've had some good seasons recently.
Before I forget, I have opening day tickets for anyone, so I hope we have some baseball fans. My name is Lauren Dincecco. I'm the class of 2011. I'm the director of hospitality. I've been with the Paw Sox for the last 5 seasons. Started as an intern. Typical day, that is a tough question because in baseball there is no typical day. You wear a lot of different hats. I guess the majority of my day revolves mainly around the corporate events, anywhere from barbecue venues we have to suites we book, party terraces, any group sales basically. The biggest thing I'd say is, I will be trying to think there's so many different things we do. Biggest thing is booking different events. We have 72 games, so our biggest thing is filling in those seats. So we have 13 suites, trying to see, who wants a 20-person suite to a 30-person suite. We do all the suite order fillings for food, printing tickets, everything from the billing to collecting receivables, so pretty much it. There's a lot.
You're the person who knows for tickets?
Yes.
Okay.
Anytime you need tickets, just call me up.
My name's Eric Lowe. I graduated in 2008 with Mark. We played on a baseball team together while we were here. But when we were here, Mark and I, we kind of got together and really we had an interest in the sports media. And we started with a radio show. And then Mark wanted to be on camera. I didn't think I should be on camera, so I stayed behind it and basically shot him and a roommate of ours who wanted to be on air, and we started a TV show that aired here on campus. We essentially did that, and that's when I really started getting into the sports media, and so started wondering why certain games were airing on certain networks. Why are the Patriots usually on CBS? Why are the Giants always on Fox? And started kind of diving into the contracts and the business side of TV. And I got an internship my junior year while I was here at ESPN, and once I graduated, I worked for a small TV distribution company, and then ended up at ESPN after 2 years of doing that. Now I focus primarily on college football programming and acquisitions, so we're the ones that cut deals with the conferences in order to get the rights to air their football games on ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, ABC, etc. So obviously this year is a big year for us because of the new postseason format of college football. So long as BCS is on a college football playoff. So we're really excited about that, and that's one of our biggest projects that we're working on right now. So I won't bore you with anything else, but that's kind of the daily stuff. It changes every day for me. You know, show up and you never know what you're going to be working on, which is kind of fun. So.
My name is Colin Mayberry. I graduated here in 2013. So I'm a U.S. Regional Scout for Future Considerations, which is an independent hockey scouting company. It's based up in Calgary, Canada. So what the company does is essentially sends out, there's about 30 scouts on staff, and we each have our own specific area. So I cover the New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania area. When I was in school, I did the New England area, but so now I just do the New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and I go out and I go sit in the stands and watch high school, junior, some college players who are undrafted, who I think have the potential to be drafted and play in the NHL. So games are pretty much on the weekends, so I'll spend my weekends going to games. I'll travel as far as 2.5 hours out to who knows where, Pennsylvania, to watch a game. I'll go back home, and then my week consists of writing the scouting reports, giving them grades, and then each quarter, basically by quarter, we'll do our rankings of who I've seen, and kind of think of what round they could potentially be drafted in. Then I also am an MBA student down in Jersey, and going for an MBA in sports management, so I'm studying the business side of sports.
So we did call this panel Breaking into Sports. So the key question is, I'm sure you have this dream and you want to be in sports, and it's like, how do you get there? What do you do to kind of break in and get that footing? So if you guys can all remember being back here at one point, what were some things that really helped you along the way? What do you kind of credit for getting that foot in and breaking in?
Well, the theme of sports, I guess the way I'll put it is, I played, like Eric said, in baseball, and I always liked sports, obviously, so that I figured was a good, TV sports reporter talking about sports. I made the assessment that, okay, that could work out. So then once I made that assessment, you just had to go forward. So like you said, we had the show, which was terrible. I mean, the show was great, but the execution was terrible. Like, for this job, you need to put together a demo. So it's basically examples of your work in front of the camera. My examples were brutal. We started late. We were focused on baseball.
You had a terrible haircut.
It was just a joke. But it did give me some experience here in front of the prompter. I don't know what that studio is like now, but when we were here, we had it was a little studio, and nobody used the thing.
No one used
And Mike Montecalvo, was involved with it, and I think he's still involved. Yeah. He, we approached him, and he was more than willing to help us out, so we, got involved with him, and he helped kind of push the idea along. So basically, when I was here, we jumped into the studio, we started doing a bunch of stuff, and tried to get our ducks in a row. This was senior year, so if you can start before senior year, I would advise that. We would have been so much further along, or at least I would have been trying to get on TV if I knew what I was doing. Instead, I had to get a job at the Toshiba Corporation after school to make some money and get a demo in order, because the demo I had from this show here, it wasn't good enough. They would have laughed at me, so I had to take some time. So if I could have gotten myself together sooner, that would have helped. So yeah, as far as the whole sports thing, I just knew I enjoyed the coverage and being around sports, so that's why I thought, and then I liked TV, and then it just kind of all came
I
together.
think taking the initiative was the biggest thing. I remember calling you one day and just being like, yeah, why don't we just do it? Why don't we just start a radio show? And then you were like, well, I wanted to be on TV. And we were like, all right, who do we talk to? I think that was the biggest thing, was just, once you start doing it, you have all these things here at your disposal at Bryant, and don't think the answer is no. Someone will give you, they gave us the keys to the studio. That was a pretty dumb idea, but now look, Mark turned it into a career, and yeah, we probably did some things we shouldn't have done by moving cameras where they shouldn't have gone, and taking furniture from the unistructure and putting it in the TV studio, but because we did that, Mark found that he liked being on camera, and now, 5 years later, now here we are, and he's got a great gig, something that he likes to do. But I think for you guys, take the initiative. If you want to get into sports, you've got a great athletic department over here. Now Division I athletics, it's getting big time. It's a good thing if you can get your foot in the door there. Help them out, whether it's help them with snack concessions or ticket sales or whatever it is. Help with social media. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that really helps you understand the logistics of working in sports as opposed to being on the playing field itself. I think that was the biggest thing. We worked on the chain gang a little bit for football games, and then I wiped the floor for basketball games when guys would fall on the floor. You start learning about setting up events, because that's what sports are. They're events, and it's not just getting a referee and a scoreboard. It's the logistics, the marketing side of it is a lot. Social media now is huge. That's the kind of stuff that you guys should think about getting involved with if you really want to take initiative to get into sports.
It's a good segue to Colin too. Colin, you want to talk about your Bryant experience?
So at Bryant, I played on the hockey. I've been playing hockey since I was 3 years old. Played first 2 years at Bryant, and then my junior year and senior year I kind of stopped playing, but I still stuck with the club and did more of the behind-the-scenes stuff. I was the kind of the vice president junior year, and then I did president senior year. That's a lot of the doing the budget and making sure all the paperwork is there, so the logistics behind making sure we actually have a team on campus and actually are getting funded by the school, and setting up the buses and the rink time, the practice time, so a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff. So that's kind of what I did here, but leading to what I'm doing now is you really can't be afraid to take risks and just kind of what I do is I just emailed somebody. I emailed my friend who worked there. I was like, "Do you need? You're graduating this year. Do you need somebody to fill in this region?" And he said, "Let me talk to my scouting director." Came back. If I never emailed him, I would have never got this gig. So it's one of those things where anything in sports, not just hockey, you have to be not afraid to take risks. Put your name out there. And you can't. What I learned senior year was you can't be afraid to kind of start at the bottom level. Intern for free, even if it's not an intern. Like like Eric was saying with the athletic department, go there and just volunteer. Just go there and see what you can do for free, just to help out, get experience, and then that will lead. That put something on your resume, and that will lead to something in the future.
Lauren,
Yeah, I was just gonna add on to Colin, no job is a small job anywhere you work. To get your foot in the door, I started off as a suite server for the Pawtucket, and then as an intern. And then we have, our CFO started as a peanut vendor. Any little thing you do, you just keep asking for more. Anything is helpful. And then once you start doing that, they'll just keep, adding more to you. Don't take any small job lightly. My biggest advice is always do a smile and ask for more. If you're an intern, don't just expect them to give you a project. Once you're done with it, do the best you can do, and then ask and say, is there anything else we can do? You might think filing is a boring job. It's actually important. It saves time for anyone higher up that, it saves them 5 minutes instead of taking them 20 minutes to find that piece of paper that's important for one of their sponsors.
And just to piggyback off what Lauren said, it's a good point because, for example, at our station, when we get an intern, I'll tell them, he or she, because a lot of them want help with their demos because it's like the station and the fancy backdrop or whatever. I'll say, if you want help, you come to us and tell us. If they don't, like, we got a million things we got to do. Like, we can't worry about, did you get your demo done? We'll ask, but we're not going to hold their hand into the studio. So you got to come to us and be like, hey, I want to do this. When can I do this? And it's about being proactive and assertive and going and getting what you want.
Eric, how'd you break into ESPN?
I would be lying if I said I didn't have a connection, but once they set up the they have the job portal, ESPN Careers, ability to post your resume and stuff like that. I went on there, posted it, and then through contact, I sent an email, hey, my resume just got submitted, what can you do with it? And then, there's like a long paper trail that weaves through the HR departments, wherever, and, that's kind of how it floats to the top, to say that, you're just automatically shoehorned in. That's not true. You have to go to class when you're here, you have to have a good GPA and the whole thing, but it helps when you have opportunities to network or go to things like this to actually meet face to face with people. It'll help that person if they're on the inside remember who you are and that whole thing. But we've increased our capacity on the website to allow for people who are graduating, looking for internships or whatever, looking for a job right out of school. Post your resume. It gives our HR department the ability to sort if there's Mark is on air talent, let's say. If they're looking for someone to do a digital show for ESPN3 or whatever, .com, Mark's name may come to the top because he's got 5 years experience, and our talent department is looking for someone to step right in. So that's kind of like the main way of entry into ESPN.
Do you find too that it's helpful to have had a previous internship, maybe a little bit less competitive internship or an experience on campus, so that
Absolutely.
it's not not totally green, applying ESPN type of thing?
Any sort of experience you have before you go to any job, I think is
Sure.
valuable. I mean, no one wants to say that they just spent the last 4 years at Salmon.
But even as an intern, applying
yeah.
for an internship at a really competitive place
Yeah,
like
I mean,
ESPN,
it
it might be
helps
nice
to
to have another internship, for example, with the higher firm.
Or just experience on campus. Obviously, if you're a sophomore in college, you probably haven't had an internship yet, so you're still a little wet behind the ears. But if you have the extracurricular activities and experience with the athletic department, that adds another layer of depth to your resume as opposed to you're just a marketing major at Bryant.
Sure.
Where did you submit your resume to?
It's ESPNcareers.com is the main job portal site. And you don't necessarily have to go for a specific job, you can just post your resume on there. And then Bryant usually reaches out to ESPN to kind of grease the wheels a little bit to, if there are internship opportunities. I think I got an email from somebody asking about actuarial and analytics internships that go on in our stats and research department. So there are all sorts of opportunities. There's so many employees, it's 8,000 people, spread out on ESPN, and then that's just a subsection of the Walt Disney Company. So, yeah.
Mark, how'd you get from Toshiba into on air? How'd you get that demo tape made?
Well, I had to volunteer, like you were talking about, at I don't know where y'all are from, but the TV station in my town, there was like a little community access station. I don't know if any of your towns have something like that. So while I was working, I volunteered there. I did some show, and they let me make a demo. So I just took like a whole summer while I was working, made the demo, and then eventually, after sending it out enough, I got a job in Georgia first, and then Mississippi, and then I got back to Providence. I'll just say, had I got it, this was what I was alluding to a little bit, if I had gotten my act together earlier, I could have skipped that part, come out of Bryant with the demo that would have been good enough, and then could hopefully gotten a job, or at least been poised to get a job earlier. And just the internship thing, I know every industry is different, but internships, my first internship was at New England Cable News after my sophomore year. When this job came up for Providence, the guy I was an intern under at that station was like one of the key people, references that my boss now called and helped me get that job. And the other one was Mike Montecalvo, who I had here, kept in touch with. Hey Mike, here's what I'm doing, I'm in Georgia. Hey Mike, it's hot in Mississippi. And then when this job came up, he works at this station. He talked to the news director. That was a huge in. So, just, like he was just Mike here. I didn't have him in class, but he was just like the guy.
Yeah.
So I just stayed in touch. Like, if I don't stay in touch, I might not be here. If I didn't, so those internships, and even though I wasn't like on air during those internships, they still were helpful.
I could keep asking questions, but we got a whole room full of people, so you guys ask some questions. What do you want to know? We've got all these people here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got a question for Mark. How much say do you have in the type of news stories that you cover?
I have all to say. Sometimes, depending on what it is, the news director or whomever might have not done a certain thing I decided to cover. But as far as what we want to put on the air, we have 100% say. Our judgment's usually pretty good, so, if it's something, if it's the Bikini Football League, probably not going to put that on the air in Eyewitness News. But,
We would put that on there.
for the most part, we have to say, and then if there's something significant, or if I'm going to do a significant story, I'll run it by our news director and be like, here's what I'm thinking of, doing coming up this spring, or a 10-week thing, and she'll have to sign off on that, but just day to day, it's up to us.
What else?
This is for Colin. Did you have any scouting experience before you got this job, or?
Nope, I was just playing hockey, so I kind of just knew the game, and you're kind of, scouting is one of those things where there's really not an internship for.
Yeah.
It's, you're learning kind of as you do it. So obviously I'm a lot better than I was, I'm a lot better, this is my second year doing it, I'm a lot better now than I was when I started. You just kind of learn, the hardest thing was learning how to write a scouting report in terms of keeping it concise, yet giving it, you're basically using your report as a video of this kid. So no, I did not have any experience, I'm just kind of learning as I went.
Go for anyone. I know you guys keep mentioning internships, and internships super helpful. Would you say companies would be looking for internships from interns that they've had in the specific department that they're hiring for, or would you say having an internship at another place to show a different kind of skill is important for them?
I think it probably depends on where you're looking to apply for the internship, but having a previous internship definitely helps, because it shows that you got your foot in the door elsewhere, and that someone took a flyer on you to do the job. I'm sure you guys would all do a great job as an intern. I think I wouldn't necessarily say it's better that you had a previous internship, but I think just having experience doing things that shows initiative outside of your daily activities of being a student, I think definitely can just add depth to your resume.
As for Eric, right now I have an internship doing remote production for Nessun and the Bruins, and I was wondering how the PA program is for ESPN when it comes to production.
Yeah, I mean it's one of the best. I mean, you're really hands-on. We have, we do a lot of event production, like what you're doing, but there's a lot of studio production that comes out of Bristol as well. I think we did. I did a report. I think we did over 800 hours of college football studio coverage last year. At all hours of the day. I mean, you name it. There's a PA or a AP or whatever doing a show. And that includes studio time out of Los Angeles and Charlotte as well, where ESPN is located. So the PA program, get your foot in the door. I think you'll be cutting highlights, just getting used to the new equipment in there, and then you never know when someone comes up with a new studio show idea, and then, hey, we need you to, cut highlights for this show, and then you kind of like carve your own niche. And I think there's a new program I've started. I think it's a 6-month program for PAs where you dip your toes in, being a content analyst / a PA, so that you're not just confined to production. You get some experience with programming and formatting a program and working, understanding the rights landscape as opposed to just working with the hands-on cutting and editing. So it's a pretty comprehensive program.
Are they hiring?
Oh yeah, go to the website.
I will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How about some tools to get your foot in the door? So you mentioned, like you're going to do tape or whatever if you're going to media, but how much does social media, LinkedIn, some of those tools help you, or how much have you leveraged those kinds of tools in your own career to move forward?
I think social media is huge. We actually recently made a new position for it because the more exposure, the better. Definitely with Facebook and everything. One issue I've noticed is some people just assume they know social media. Don't do that. There's so much more to it. You want to study it and make sure what's the best part of it to help marketing-wise and getting people to actually come to the games. The second thing is LinkedIn too. I think the biggest thing what I used to do is I used to contact alumni from Bryant that was in sports and see if they would meet with me. They're more than happy to. Most of the people love their school, so I definitely recommend that as well.
LinkedIn's useless to me. I've never used it. I mean, I have a thing, but it's never really benefited me. So that's just me.
All right, you're off the book.
Maybe it will one day, but
At least you're honest. Yeah. It's all about you.
I think the biggest thing is treating social media as your own. It's like your own personal press releases. Every time you post something, like I guarantee you, the first time you apply to a program, a job or an internship, and they're thinking about hiring you or taking you on as an intern, first thing they're going to do is, hey, is he on Facebook? Let's see if he has a Twitter account. Let's see if he's got an Instagram account. And if there's anything in a program, it all of a sudden just turns into a negative.
oh yeah, that can happen. And I think you have to, at least from where I sit, Twitter's important. So you have to, in my opinion, at least be comfortable with Twitter. You don't have to be Ashton Kutcher, but at least comfortable with how it works and how to use it and how you can be effective.
Yeah.
Twitter's big for what I do too, but then again, I also have to be very careful what I tweet. You don't want to say anything negative, or I shouldn't say negative. You want to speak the truth, but you don't want to go too far in terms of what you say about a person because they're going to see it, and you don't want to divulge too much because you don't want other people to see it. You're walking a very fine line on Twitter in terms of what you're going to say as a scout of any sport.
And not only just social media, but writing emails, I think, email etiquette
It's
now
huge.
is everything.
Especially since we're like getting emails now instead of like, you know, being the emailers.
Right.
Like, if there's a spelling error, that sucks. Don't do that. Like, it just looks bad. I'm sure, and it happens.
It happens.
Like, I've done it before too.
Well, with the
But it's-
iPhone, like you.
Right. No, I know. But like, it just, I haven't sat in this, in like the side of where you have to like, where you're at, where people are emailing you, hey, is there, you want to make sure the email is quality.
Right.
Take your time with it, actually read what you write. Don't just type it up and be like, all right, I just did that, send, and don't use your texting language and all that.
Because we've gotten emails where they do that, you know, like, what is this, like, are you serious?
Right.
So,
Because that's the only thing we see from you, let's say you guys would email us, right? The only thing that we may take away is that, oh, this is a reflection of who this person is, because we have nothing else to go by. That if there's errors or improper formatting, or you forgot a digit from your phone number so we can't call you back, like that can't happen. So that I think that was the biggest thing. I think there were, we took classes on how to write professional emails and stuff like that was big. And then on top of that, learning software like PowerPoint and Excel. I mean, I live in that stuff now, and I probably should have paid a little more attention when I was here. I'm just being honest. Now I'm better at it now, but when they were like, yeah, let's build a 40-slide PowerPoint for tomorrow morning's meeting, it's, all right, you gotta jump right in here, sink or swim. So, it may not be the best, your favorite class learning PowerPoint, but I can honestly say that I don't go a week without using PowerPoint, and I don't go a day without using Excel in my current.
just last point on the emails, and this probably would help in any industry. What's helped me is just kind of thinking, if you were the person who was going to receive that email, how would you handle it? You know, whether it's what you said or the grammar. Like, if you got the email that you're about to send, what would you say? Like, why? Like, if you're going to be a little brash, would you take that as, something? It's just depending on what you're going to write, or if it's grammatically incorrect. Just think of it that way, and that's helped me. So.
I'm gonna keep asking questions, but you guys, I want you guys to ask the questions. Yeah.
Question for the whole panel. What's the most challenging part of your job?
When I go into Sephora and they go, what shade does she wear? And I'm like, no, it's for me. Yeah.
I don't know if the thing that I'm gonna say is difficult, but the toughest thing that I've had to kind of encounter and accept was being wrong. Like I look back, like I mean, now that my first draft that I scouted for, I look back now and I'm like, oh, I really overrated this prospect. Like, wow. And I'll look back on my Twitter when I posted something about this guy, and I'll have somebody making fun of me, like, oh, look what you said. It's another going back to social media. You have to be careful what you write, because somebody can always find it. But that's probably the toughest thing I've had to adjust to, is, especially, I don't know about these other positions, but for my job, it's okay to be wrong as long as you stick by what you said about this person originally.
And you get better every time you fail, right? Fail at something and you get better. Go ahead, Lauren.
To add on that, I would say just with baseball, we work from 9 until the end of the game, sometimes it's 12 o'clock at night. It's the curveballs that you don't expect, I have barbecues every day, and no matter what, there's always going to be a mistake at least once during the year. So you could have a barbecue show up that you thought was coming in August, and they come on July 3rd, the biggest day of the year. You have to be ready to deal with that problem on your feet with a smile and not looking stressed. So the biggest thing is just, expect those curveballs. Not everything is going to be perfect. Just thinking on your feet.
What are the travel and the hours? Is that a good thing or?
The hours in my job is tough because you're, like I said, you could be 9 to 5, you could work at night, you could work Friday night, Saturday night, so, your wife doesn't really love how the social life is going, stuff like that, so you just gotta kind of manage it. And luckily, my wife works, she's a guidance counselor, so she gets summers off, she gets a million vacations, so we get to see each other more than if she was a accountant. So, I don't travel a lot with my job, other than like World Series or something. So maybe you guys travel, probably travel.
Yeah.
Colin travels. So
You're on.
I drove up here. It took me 3.5 hours to come up here for this panel thing today, and that was really just another day of being like I drive 2.5 hours I drive 2.5 hours out up to New York or out to Pennsylvania to watch one or two guys, and then I'll drive right back right after, and then late nights of doing the rankings and the reports, and then on top of that going for my MBA. It's a lot of work, but you gotta put in the time to work in sports.
Yeah, for me, work on college football, so Saturdays during the fall, I'm working. But now I get a little bit of time because March Madness and college basketball really takes shape here and comes to the forefront. So, but during the fall, Molly, my fiance, she walks into the living room and the TV's not on college football. She finds that as a mini victory because we're in a position where we have the majority of the rights for the college football games on television, so we're always monitoring what's going on. And one of the things that we do is if we have a game at 12 and 3:30, and the game at noon runs long into the 3:30 game on the same channel, we have to start that 3:30 game on an alternate channel so that someone doesn't miss the beginning of their game. So we're always monitoring those situations, and if we ever get thunderstorms or whatever and players have to clear the field, that just throws a giant wrench in everything. And that's where our social media stuff comes in, is getting the word out to the fans and putting it on the bottom line so that people understand, the West Virginia game's in a rain delay. That's why I see the Penn State game or whatever it is. So Saturdays for me in the fall are, it's tough staying up for those Pac-12 games in the West Coast sometimes on Saturday night, but sometimes having coffee at 10 p.m. helps with that. So.
Going on to the last question, what would you guys say is your favorite part about your job? Like the reason that you stay with it?
It's easy for me. Sports is, every game has its own story and no game is the same. I think any given night, at least in the sports world, it's unscripted drama that unfolds every time someone tips off or they drop a puck, which is one of my favorites. But I think the fact that you don't know what's going to happen every night, like how many times have you watched the game thinking one team's going to win, and then the New York Giants beat the Patriots 2 times in a row in the Super Bowl, right, Mark? And like that's why sports is awesome. Like, that's why sports is DVR proof. That's why live audiences for sports will never go down, because how many people do you know say that, oh yeah, I'm going to watch the Super Bowl on Tuesday? It's not going to happen, because the next day everyone goes, hey, did you see the game last night? That's one of the things that's beautiful about sports, is it's appointment television, whereas you can watch House of Cards or whatever the new show is on DVR. That's why I love it, because it's appointment television viewing and anything can happen.
To jump on that, every day I drive up to a baseball stadium. What's cooler than that, It's not your typical 9 to 5 day. Everything's going to be different. And at the end of the day, our job is to entertain all these people. To see all these families come for, non-expensive tickets, just to see them having a good time. It's so rewarding to see, okay, I helped to be a part of that. So.
I enjoy the challenge of trying to incite emotion out of people through the stories or the writing that we do for either the show when I'm anchoring or when I'm reporting. A funny package of heartwarming story or it's a challenge, and because it's sports, it's something I'm comfortable with and enjoy being around, so that's how they're intertwined.
Yeah, as a scout, it doesn't matter what sport you scout. I mean, it's hockey. You love that sport. You really can't beat sitting in a hockey rink for a 2.5-hour game, just watching the game, and then I do find a little bit of enjoyment going back home and picking apart a player's game and saying when he doesn't do very well. But that much
As for Colin, did you say your company only works with hockey? Is that what you said?
Yeah, future considerations is hockey, but if you want to do basketball, football, baseball, there are independent scouting services that you can look up on the internet and just reach out to them. That's what I did, and all you have to do is just reach out to them and say, hey, what can I do to help you out, or do you need an extra pair of eyes in this area? Just talk to people, just send it out, and even if they don't do it now, just keep on top of it. Just keep talking to them. Keep your name fresh in their mind, and something will happen for you. You just have to be persistent and on top of things.
I'm trying to think of something else. You guys took a lot of it. I have a comment about graduate school. Anybody else on the panel thought about graduate school? And Colin, how do you think the graduate program that you're in will kind of leverage your career forward?
Yeah, so I'm doing an MBA in sports management. I was thinking about just getting my master's in sports, but then I was thinking an MBA is just it's just a much better option in terms of, obviously I want to go for sports, but in the event that sports doesn't work out, you have an MBA to do something else in, but MBA is just so well-rounded that you really can do anything. But so right now I'm going to be finishing up my first year in the program. I got out all my MBA coursework, so I'm doing all the finance and accounting and economics and all that stuff that you guys spend your, sophomore year here doing all those core classes. But next year when I'm going to start my sports classes, and that's sports finance, sports marketing, international sports organizations, management of a sports company, or even I'm taking a negotiation and contracts dispute class where I'll be learning how to negotiate a contract and learning about collective bargaining agreements. So I'm using this as to talk to the director of the program to get contacts and networks, and then B, just to kind of learn the business side of sports, because that's eventually what I want to go into.
Anybody else have any, you yourself have any, is it necessary for your field? Is it helpful in your field?
I've thought about it just because I think if you have a master's degree, that opens the door for like being some kind of teacher later, and a lot of people do that. I don't know if Mike has a master's in Montecalvo or not, but like something like that, I think it's just easier. I know the guy I worked with tried to get out of the business and had a job where he could have had a teaching degree at a college in Minnesota, but because he didn't have a master's. If you want to get on TV, you don't need to go to grad school. You have to put a good demo together. So.
Just a quick question. So it's not the same question, but what's your original majors and what do you do?
Communication was mine, and it didn't matter like what the major was. You could be a history major, especially at Bryan. If you go to Syracuse, like everybody I work with, they're all like, they had the station and they were more specified. But coming out of high school, I just wanted to play baseball. At least I'll speak for my field. It doesn't matter. You just make of it what you want and go for whatever you want. Like if you want to be an accountant, that's probably a different situation.
I was actually a communication major too, and again, I'd say the same thing. I think the biggest thing is having a business background. I actually at one point, and still am, doing finance. So those core classes that Brian makes you take, they definitely matter. The more well-rounded you are, the better. I would definitely recommend the marketing as well.
Yeah, I was a management major actually, and I declared my major and took all those classes, and then sprinkled in a few comm classes as a minor, and that's I almost was like trying to decide whether if I should do communications or stay with management. I stayed with management, but I must have doubled up or tripled up on comm classes because I found like that's what I really wanted to do. And I think it was Stanley Barron, he did a class, and Kevin Pierce taught a class, and those are the
We had
classes.
him for a million classes.
Yeah, he taught everything. It seemed like couldn't get away from his quizzes out of nowhere. Those were the ones that actually were like management was like the main course, and then the dessert was the comm classes. Those were always awesome.
I was marketing, concentration, history minor. I mean, it's helping me more grad school, but it's not really not helping me at all. Scouting. There was no scouting class here. There was no class to warn you about driving long hours and spending long hours learning. So,
Did your own scouting watching tests?
Were there particular skills that you guys feel like Lauren kind of, you kind of started talking about that, just kind of the combination of arts and sciences and business, but any particular takeaways or skills that you guys think that Bryant really, stuff that you think Bryant really helped you? Kind of get where you are?
Off the top of my head, like the finance, I was so thankful that I had to at least take an accounting class in finance once, because if I had just done that comm major, I would not know how to use QuickBooks or anything right now. And then even something as for comm, public speaking is huge. I definitely recommend that, even if you're not a liberal arts major.
That was huge.
Definitely,
Yep.
definitely take that.
Did you guys do the podium? Is that here when you guys were?
No, I think not when we were here. I think it came in a year after we got here. New Year's, and I know that is because there's a girl at my station who graduated last year, and she told me that.
Yeah.
So.
Actually, I'd come in here for public speaking.
Yeah. I think the one thing that I would, yes. But I think the one piece of advice I want to give you guys, I remember being so intimidated by people in the workforce because I was the college kid coming out of school, being so intimidated. Just remember that, like, just because we have titles and names on these things, and we're people too, and we were once in your shoes, so I think sometimes it's like, oh, it's the president of whatever, Toshiba Corp over there. He puts his pants on one leg at a time, and ties his shoes too, and like, we're all human here, and don't be scared to go up and approach someone and ask them about what they do, because they spend the majority of their lives, or that's scary to say, but the majority of the week working, and they should enjoy talking about what they do. If they don't, then that doesn't make it seem like it's a good fit for you. You know, I think we all enjoy what we do up here, and we want to tell you that. And don't ever be scared to go up to somebody and ask them what they do, how do they get there. They should be respectful of you because we were once in your shoes. And that's the biggest piece of advice I can
This is obvious, but if you can figure out exactly what you want to do, or as close to what you want to do as possible, that's huge. We'll get interns that are like, well, I'm just trying to find out, and that's fine. You got to find out. You got to like feel it out. But if you know what you want, like if I get a guy or a girl that knows they want to be on TV, well then it's like, all right, here's what you can do. And so if you know, that's step one. Then when you know, you go for it. You don't let anyone get in your way. You don't worry about what your grades were. Oh crap, I didn't do this internship. I mean, those things can help. If you get 4.0 or whatever, I'm sure that helps. But you got to go for it, and you got to go hard.
I remember what you did when we were in New Orleans together, when you were covering the SEC angle of the national championship. I remember you and I, we were there, and you were like, I'm just going to go talk to Scott Van Pelt. He's right
Scott
there.
Van Pelt, yeah.
You were like, I'm just going to go talk. I was like, you sure?
Yeah.
He's right. Like, and you were like, no, I'm going to go talk to him because I have questions. And literally, I look over 10 minutes later, Scott Van Pelt is towering over
He's
him.
like 6'6".
Yeah, and he's just like going like this. I'm like, oh god.
He answered all the questions.
Yeah,
But you gotta like.
as
Now, if I
long
really had some balls, I would have gone up into skipper, but that didn't happen. Anyway, but you're absolutely right, and that was one of the things. You know, you just go in and you can't be afraid of those things, like you said, you just talk to these people and,
We're human.
yeah, I mean, you gotta go after it, because nobody's gonna give it to you, and this sounds bad, but I always got this impression when I was networking with people, like, they're there, they're gonna help, but at the end of the day, they don't care. Like, they don't care if you ultimately succeed or not. Like, they want you to succeed, but they got a family, they got a job, they got stuff they gotta do. So you gotta make sure you do what you can do to make it happen. Because as much help as they'll give, and we all, like, I like to give help anytime, and I'm sure all you guys do too, but there's other things that have to get done, and, you know, it's the way it is. So you gotta make sure you do it.
Yeah.
So just get after it.
To go off of that, you have to be the one to go up to that person, but you also have to be that one to follow up, because I have people that come up to me and see me in the corner of a rink and see me with a notepad taking notes, and then they ask me, I forget them that night. You need to follow up with that person and make sure that they remember you, because they meet people all the time. They don't remember you unless you actually follow up and make sure that they remember you.
Yeah, developing a system for following up, I think, is key. If you run into somebody, you meet them for the first time, and let's say they give you one of these, a business card, develop a system where, hey, Eric, nice meeting you the other night, really looking forward to applying to a job, or whatever it is. Develop a system. So, or if you know that it's one of our birthdays or whatever, hey, just want to say happy birthday, graduating May, whatever. Think that, like, I mean, seriously, it's little things like that that separate you from the people who are, I'm really interested in a job in sports, help me get what I want. I think that, I think
An example.
yeah, like,
And obviously, there's an element of creativity involved in this. So I was trying to reach out to a news director once. So I'm looking up information on him, and he went to a school, Radford University or something. Whatever the school was, the nickname was Highlanders. Okay? So I emailed them, subject Highlanders. First line of the email, hey Dave, I don't know you and we have nothing in common, but I saw you were a Radford Highlander, and my mom drives a 02 Toyota Highlander. And I put it in parentheses, smooth ride. Okay? So he emailed me back, and he was like, that was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Like, yeah, like, and then I ended up meeting with him, and I drove to Virginia. He was at a station in Virginia. We met with him. I never got a job, but he answered my email, which is sometimes half the battle. So now, you can't be ridiculous, and like I said, there's an element of creativity involved in being a reporter, but that was outside the box, and it worked, you know. Like I've heard stories about, like, sending one time at Nesson, I sent, and I wasn't the first to do this, but I was like, I'll try it. You send like a little shoe. Have you heard of that? Like you're sending like some little bit of shoe.
Were the other Nesson people here?
Yeah, like I heard somebody do it, and I was like, I'll just try it.
you would want my shoe.
You send, no, it was like a baby shoe. You send the shoe, and you're like, now that I have a foot in the door, like some people might think it's the stupidest thing. What is this? But if one person thinks it's the best thing they've ever seen, that's all it takes, you know. So like. You never, especially, you know how competitive everything is nowadays. So you got to just, whatever it takes, you know.
Yeah.
If they don't like it, then whatever. Like
You try.
You lost a baby show.
right.
Yeah.
Right. And they'll never remember that it was you that like
Right.
sent the shoe if you try again in a year or whatever. So you got to think about it from different angles.
Any other questions? Well, I'm going to save some time for you guys to do just that. If you've got individual questions or want to introduce yourself to our panelists, I encourage you to do that. Before we give them a round of applause, I just have a really quick announcement to make. Did you guys see Gillette there back in the day when we were looking for stuff? That's coming up. This career fair has been going on an annual basis for a while. This is held at Gillette Stadium, and I have an email that I'm going to send all you guys with. If you scanned in, if you didn't, make sure you do on your way out. And I have some resources for finding jobs and internships that I'll send you along with this flyer to attend if you want to. Nothing to do with Brian, just on your own. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Amazing information.